Move over styrofoam. Scientists have just designed a heat-insulating material made from wood that is both light and strong and made entirely from tiny stripped-down wood fibers. The so-called Nanowood, described in the journal Science Advances, could one day be used to make more energy-efficient buildings. It's cheap and biodegradable too. Managing heat is a major issue in the cities we build. It's hard to keep heat indoors in the winter and keep it outdoors in the summer. The insulating materials currently in use are often very expensive to make, both in terms of money and in energy. They're not usually biodegradable and ultimately contribute to our growing landfills. So scientists have been trying to come up with cheaper, more environmentally friendly options. Researchers have been probing the properties of nanocellulose, nanometer scale versions of cellulose. That's the tough carbohydrate type material in the cell walls of plants that allow tree trunks to grow strong and tall, for instance. At these incredibly small scales, cellulose fibers can take on remarkable characteristics, including a strength-to-weight ratio that's about 8 times that of steel. But in this project, researchers removed all of the lignin and most of the hemicellulose. Lignin is very good at conducting heat, which means it would be a terrible insulator. Without all that lignin, the woody material turns pure white, allowing it to reflect incoming light and heat rather than absorb it. The secret to the Nanowood's insulating powers lies partly in its structure. See, styrofoam is isotropic. It basically looks the same from every angle under a microscope, but Nanowood is anisotropic. The fibers are bundled together in parallel, so it looks very different from different angles. Heat can travel up and down the fibers with ease, but can't easily cross them, particularly because of the air gaps left after all that woody filler was removed. The scientists found that the Nanowood was just as good as an insulator as styrofoam, in fact, slightly better even. It far outclassed other materials too. On top of that, the Nanowood was also lightweight and could withstand pressures about 30 times higher than the strongest of the commercially available thermal insulation materials that you can get right now. Even better, in the right conditions, bacteria can eat it, making it completely biodegradable. When the thickness is less than 1 millimeter, the Nanowood slice can be rolled and folded, making it also suitable for scenarios that require flexibility, such as pipelines and chemical factories and power plants. The material could have a host of future uses too. It could be used to build skyscrapers, to manufacture cars, even protect heat-sensitive electronics, whether on Earth or possibly even in space. And speaking of space, NASA is asking all cloud gazers to snap photos of the sky and share them with the space agency via an app. The Citizen Science Project is needed to validate data from 6 Earth-observing instruments on different satellites, and it's likely to make hashtag Cloud Twitter incredibly happy. The instruments are part of a project called Clouds and the Earth's Radiant Energy System, which aims to better understand what roles clouds play in global climate change, among other things. Clouds, however, are sometimes hard to identify from up high. For example, thin, wispy clouds, the most common type of high clouds, are difficult to spot against a background of snow. Now, according to NASA, that's why satellite observations need to be compared with observations from the ground. Hence, the Cloud Observation Challenge. If you want to participate, the easiest way is to download the Globe Observer app, which gives step-by-step instructions to submit your cloud photos. For example, the app asks you everything from what color the sky is to what the visibility is to obviously what types of clouds you see. The app has some cloud images that might help you identify the fluff in the sky too. But there are plenty of cloud ID charts online to help you pick as well. And if you snap a photo at the same time that a satellite with the series instruments is hovering over your head, you can check this in the app too. NASA will email you the space-based observation for you to compare yourself. The space agency is launching the challenge now because spring leads to some pretty interesting cloud activity. The change of seasons from winter to summer can be very stormy, and NASA needs to double-check data from one particular Ceres instrument that launched in November of 2017 and began taking measurements at the beginning of 2018. You have until April 15th to submit up to 10 cloud photos per day. Audi's Performance Sports division announced that it will introduce a four-door high-performance EV as part of Audi and VW's grand electrification plans. The e-tron GT will be based on the Porsche Mission E that we showed off a few weeks ago and built alongside the e-tron Quattro crossover that we saw recently at the Geneva Motor Show. Audi chairman Rupert Stadler said, "We will lead our high-performance brand Audi Sport into the electric future with models like this." It proves that the electric drive can also deliver high performance. Speaking of the e-tron Quattro, Audi revealed that it will be priced at about 80,000 euros. That's 100,000 US. So far, we've seen it only in a disguised form, but we'll get a much better look at it when the automaker releases more details in August. It might hit the market fairly soon, too, as, say, a 2019 model vehicle. And so far, we know that it will be built using a carbon-neutral fabrication process and will accept 150 kilowatt fast charge. Other than that, everything's up in the air. As Road and Track points out, Audi has been working on a three-motor system to allow for advanced torque vectoring. But Porsche has already said that the Mission E will use just one motor per axle. That means that while the Audi Sports e-tron GT might share the Mission E platform, it could actually use different drivetrain components. Once it arrives, the GT will be Audi's e-tron flagship car. Airbnb just took an important step towards inclusiveness by making it easier to find listings that are accessible for people who use wheelchairs. If you climb up porch stairs or step into a shower without thinking about it, you may never have noticed that finding disability-friendly listings on Airbnb was quite a challenge, requiring guests to grill hosts about details on accessible bathrooms and ramps and leaving much to be desired. Airbnb recognized the problem eventually, and in 2017 it started working with the California Council of the Blind, California Foundation for Independent Living Centers, and National Council on Independent Living to develop new filters that would make it easier for travelers to find homes that fit their individual needs. It also purchased Accomable. It's a startup dedicated to disability-friendly travel. Now Airbnb has introduced 21 filters that help travelers find listings to meet their specific needs, including rolling showers, ramps, hallways wide enough to accommodate wheelchairs, and step-free access to rooms. Previously, Airbnb users were able to search for wheelchair accessibility, and that was about it. But that wasn't really sufficient to meet many travelers' specific needs. The news comes just as Google Maps introduced wheelchair accessible routes on its public transportation guides as well. These small steps are a huge way to make these accommodations feel much more comfortable.